Does everything have a bright side to it? Of course. Doesn't always outweigh the negatives, but everything has a bright side to it. This makes happiness a choice. And here we say that the discipline of being happy is the ultimate discipline. With that said, welcome to the Ultimate Discipline Podcast, where we meet with people who are practitioners of this exact discipline, and we hear their cool stories of cultivating happiness through challenges in their life. I am your host, Sean Greenspan. Let's get to it. Sam, how are you, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. It's good to see you. It's been a whole 5 days.
I know it's been a big 5 days for both of us, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of when we were setting this up that it was nice to get back into the swing of things. So I actually met Sam at VCon, Gary V's conference, and man, there were some good people there.
Oh yeah, I think that was the best part for me. A lot of the speakers didn't necessarily land for my interests, but it was more so the types of people that were going to be at that event that I was really drawn to. And, I've made some awesome connections, as I'm sure you have too.
Yeah, Gary said that in the beginning. He said, there's great speakers, but you're going to leave with, a network. And it's the people you meet. So he said, look to your left, look to your right, shake someone's hand. I was actually on the drive back at a lot of quiet time, and I was trying to think about it because there's some thing that had everyone connected there. Obviously, everyone was a V friend, but more than that, it's the fact that everybody saw this trend early, got on it, was proactive. I think that means everyone was curious kind of about the Web3 space. Everyone was optimistic in nature, a hard worker. It was just, the energy was great. I mean, I feel like, I met great people like yourself, and it was fun. It was fun being there.
Yeah, I think what everyone has in common at an event like that is you have to be naturally optimistic, right? And that's something that I've really noticed in starting my own entrepreneurial journey, is that the people that you meet who are entrepreneurs believe in a better tomorrow, or else you wouldn't be running the business that you are running. And you need to have that appetite for growth in order to be in a space like, crypto or entrepreneurship, because you need to have that belief that there is something that you can do today to improve your reality tomorrow. And I think that's a common trait that I've met in the entrepreneurship circles that I run in, because we're all investing our time and energy into creating a better reality for us tomorrow. And I think that there are similarities between those entrepreneurship traits and the people that you find in a community like VFriends.
You said it beautifully, man. And tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, awesome. So my company is called State of Alpha, and I'm a men's fitness and nutrition coach. And the reason why my company is called State of Alpha is because I really believe that health is your alpha system. You can be a billionaire, but if you lose your health tomorrow, none of that wealth, none of that power matters. And what I help people understand is that when you start to take your health seriously, every other area of your life improves, right? If you have more energy and you have more confidence, you're going to be more effective at work. You're going to bring more value to the relationships that you have. So I help people understand that. And I help them understand that fitness and nutrition is a vehicle for improving every area of your life.
You got that down pretty succinct. That's beautiful. and I love it. I completely agree. I mean, I think that's one of the things that we kind of connected on was, the having health as a priority. And someone that I actually went to VCon with, I mentioned to him, I'm like, hey man, it's cool. Like, not only is like everyone here, like focusing on their health and wellness, but like they're kind of like taking the next step. And he said something that kind of caught my eye, and he's like, oh, health and wellness is just like the foundation. And yeah. I mean, of course, like I live like that, but like hearing him say that, he was like, that's like automatic, like that you need to be focused on what you put in your body, how you use your body, how you rest, all of that. I do want to go back to what you were saying about being an entrepreneur, about being naturally optimistic and growth. It is a little challenging, even for those. I would say I'm fortunately naturally optimistic. I'd say thanks to my parents, the people around me, and my close relationships. I'm in a good environment, but still, you lose clients or whatever, fear creeps up, and it's definitely pretty difficult to like stay in that. What's that journey like for you?
Yeah, it reminds me of when I first got into sales. And for some additional
Mm,
background on me, I was very heavily involved in Boy Scouts as a kid.
mhm.
And that led me actually to be the top popcorn salesman across Canada at the age of 6. So at 6 years old, I think the total amount was like $3,000 worth of popcorn I sold in the annual fundraiser. And that was for me going door to door, knocking on people's door and saying, "Hey, I'm selling popcorn to support Boy Scouts. Do you want to be involved?" And something that my dad imprinted in me at an early age was every no you get is one step closer to a yes, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really the mental shift that needs to happen to sustain long-term growth is you need to celebrate those losses, not because you missed out on something, but because you learned something there that will take you one step closer to success, right? And what I've learned is that when you can adopt that mindset, you become fucking superhuman, right? Because you start to sniff out the failures and you almost run towards them because it's like, I'm no longer afraid of you. I know that I need you to be successful, so I want to experience as much of that failure as possible that'll ultimately lead me to further and higher levels of success.
I I I I I love it, right? Because I think naturally people would think, failures are bad, right? And that's just not the case, right? Actually, in like the little intro blurb to this podcast, I say that everything in life is either positive and fun or something that you can learn from. And in many cases, almost honestly, almost every case, it's both. Like
Yeah.
you can like you can always like learn something from, any event if you reflect on it, and you can look at the good. The example I've used, I feel like on at least 3 other podcasts now, is like taking a cold shower. You're miserable and freezing. You're also energetic and alive, and life's great. So it's like, it's just a good example of just perspective and the role that plays. I actually heard once a CMO made a mistake at a Fortune 500 company that cost $60 million. And the board
Wow.
went to the CEO and goes, "Are you going to fire the CMO?" And he's like, "Are you crazy? I just spent $60 million training him. Why would I fire him?" And I think that's like what you're talking about, right? Like you fire someone, you bring someone new in, they're going to have to make that, hopefully not 60 million, but they're going to have to make that mistake before they learn. So this was instilled at you at a young age, and that there's something that comes behind it. Like you said, if you're going to chase these potential these things that could be scary, these no's, you have
Mhm.
to have a little humility, right? I mean, you definitely have to set the ego to the side. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like a natural thing. What do you think about how like the role the ego plays in that?
Yeah, dude, I'm so happy you asked that question. So I see the ego as kind of like this antiquated, shitty software, like Windows 95 or something, and it simply isn't built for success in our modern lives, right? Like think of it this way: back in our caveman days, which from a historical standpoint, we're not that far away from,
Mhm.
the biggest threat to our survival was criticism, right? Because let me say isolation, right? Because if we got separated from the tribe, we were fucked. We'd die. But now we that same programming is running, and that's what makes us afraid of failure, because we think that if we fail, we'll lose love, we'll lose resources, we'll lose connection, and that will ultimately be a threat to our survival. But that
Mhm.
couldn't be fundamentally more wrong, because in today's world, we we thrive on failure, and I should say well calculated failure, right? Like I don't think anyone should, you're an expert skier. Someone who's never skied before shouldn't try and do what you do and be like, oh, I'm trying to embrace failure, I'm going to go fuck myself up on this mountain. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is that you need to take calculated risks where, and I think I got this idea from Tim Ferriss actually, where it's like make failure impossible, because you're either going to succeed in what you're doing or you're going to learn the lesson that will set you up for success later down the road.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. We're going to get back to Tim Ferriss, for sure. But what's so cool about that is it just makes everything fun.
Yeah,
Just life
totally.
becomes fun. I'll tell you something that I remember my parents told me, like kind of growing up, was, people have a term like, like what if it doesn't work out? Right. And like I know it's just a saying, but what does not working out mean? To me, like people bring like this such a negative energy that when you hear like not working out, means like some catastrophic fail, right? Because of course, if it's not catastrophic, you can just bounce back from it. Even sometimes if it is, you can bounce back from it. So if you want to start this new business, Sam, right? Like you have a job, you just start a new business, and someone's like, oh, what if it doesn't work out? What does that even mean? What if you went 2 years, you got no clients? You tried, you probably had a little fun with it. You don't need to think for the rest of your life, what if, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think not working out is an option, right? And then like you also said, right? It's just like failure doesn't really become an option if you have that attitude. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
You brought
something
up
something I want to
sorry.
add to that too is when someone asks that question of what if it doesn't work out, they're focusing on the risks of the new option, right? The new option is you quitting your job and starting the company, and you're focusing on the risks of less money coming
Yeah.
in, embarrassment, ridicule, right? But you're unfairly not looking at the risks of status quo, right? What are the risks of you not making that jump?
Opportunity cost.
Right? Well, you're risking, you stay in your comfy corporate job, you're signing up for a 5% income increase year over year that doesn't even keep up with inflation, right? You're risking not meeting the type of people that you will meet when you're on your entrepreneurial journey. You're risking not living up to your own potential and living a meaningful life in some cases. So when you stack those risks up against losing some money and feeling embarrassed for a short period of time, like, right? It's like,
Embarrassment.
yeah.
Yeah. First of all, that is a golden nugget right there. I hope people take that away. They don't reflect on like what staying in the comfort zone
Costs.
will cost. Yeah. I'm reading this book, dude. Talk about a mind lapse. Do you know what book I was about to tell you I'm reading? It's the
What?
book that you told me to get, The Big
Oh,
Leap.
The Big Leap.
I was literally
Yeah.
just gonna say someone told me to get this book. Dude, literally last night, like a psychopath, I had my little like book light on, and I'm like trying to like hover the light from my girlfriend so it doesn't like keep her awake. I couldn't put the book down. And he talks about I don't even know what I was gonna say. He talks about in the beginning, that like what if mentality, and he was talking about like there's like this other level of love that we can feel. There's this other level of happiness we can feel. And I don't know. I mean, maybe this is what drew me towards the entrepreneur. And you do not need to be an entrepreneur, but I think that's a good metaphor and example for taking a leap of faith. But I can't like live knowing like what happens if I don't try to experience this,
Right.
like that to me that's, I don't know, that's just a little bit, I'd feel unfulfilled at the end of my days, weeks, months, life. Do you know Jay Shetty?
Yep.
His book, Think Like a Monk, he talks about when he was working in like finance, he's like, at the end of the day, all I would feel is hungry. And I was like, unfortunately, I can relate to that. I know it. I know what that's like. It's like versus feeling like you've accomplished something great for the day or something like that. You brought up Tim Ferriss earlier, so I want to jump to this because I want to learn from you, and I think other people would like to dive in. So for those that don't know, and I don't have all the details about Sam's story, but he is working a normal job and started a business. So I usually, Sam, kind of tell people almost the opposite of what you told me, and it enlightened me. That's one of the things that got me excited. Someone's like, "Oh, I want to start this business. I'm just so busy." Well, the darkest of the dawn comes before light, right? So you're going to need to just add that work to your plate. Just add starting a business to your plate while you're working, while you have kids and you're trying to keep up your diet and sleep and all that shit that we're all trying to do. But you mentioned that you got your job, you used the 80-20 principle to get your job down to a point that you did have time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for people that don't know, the 80-20 principle is super simple. It falls into a category of things that I call simple but not easy. Because, I mean, the concept's simple. 80% of your time is spent on 20% of your outcome. 20% of your time is spent on 80% of your outcome. And you're like, I found that 20% to focus on, and you kill it at what you were doing, and you opened up time into your life. If people don't understand that, they can look that up. I'd love to hear a little bit more about like how you applied that. And I don't know if you have examples or things, because it's difficult. I send you an email right now, you want to respond, but maybe, because that's your reaction, but maybe that's not one of the 20%, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I heard a question. I don't know if you follow Alex Hormozy. I think we talked about him when we met last week. Yeah, dude, that guy's an absolute beast. If you aren't following Alex Hormozy and you're an entrepreneur, or if you just want to be a beast in life, make sure you follow him on Instagram. He's awesome. But I heard him post a question the other day, and the question he asks himself is, what would I need to stop doing to kill my business tomorrow? Like, what actions in terms of what I do on a daily basis, if I stopped doing those things, what would be the quickest way to kill my business? And through asking that question, you will learn very quickly the things that matter the most in your business, right? So, for me, that could be if I stopped posting content tomorrow, my sales are going to go down drastically, right? If I stop giving my clients quality coaching and creating systems that actually work for them, they're not going to get the results, and I'm not going to have any proof to show future clients of, hey, this shit works, right? So by asking yourself those questions, you get very clear on, out of the 100 things that you could be working on today, what are the 5 things that matter the most? And making sure that you're doubling down on those 5 things with effort, with intensity, so that you can see disproportionate returns on the amount of time that you're putting in.
And okay, so I mean that's beautiful, and that's like a really good way to identify it. I like that question, right? I think Tim Ferriss in his book says, like, what if you can only work 4 hours a week? What if you can 4 hours a day? What if you can only work 4 hours a week? What if you can only work 4 hours a month? And he's like, do it, do the exercise. Because not saying that like you need to just snap into 4 hours a month or whatever, but you do need to snap into that thought process of like, what's a priority? And this is what happens with me. I don't really have systems in place right now. I'm actually working on that. That's something I want to get to, because I think you'll like the decision-making process around that. But right now, I'm trying to implement these systems because I feel like the work I'm doing is more chaotic. And once I can see the systems of everything I'm doing, that's the first thing I'm going to do is the 80-20. Wow, I'm spending all this time doing this. That just like, it's like a waste of time. And then, like, I think then there's 2 other keys. It's whatever we're going to do with the, like, whatever's like the 20% that's going to give us the 80% results, double down, crush it like that, make that be what your life, your work life is about.
Yeah.
And what the way I interpret is, the other thing is, now you have this opened up time into your day. What are you going to do with that time? It doesn't even have to be work. It could be, chase passions. But if you run the 80-20 and open up this time and sit on the couch and, eat junk food and watch TV, that's, it's all about utilizing that time, I guess really well, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's become more and more obvious to me as I have reached some levels of success in business, is having the time and freedom to do what you want on a daily basis. That's wealth, right? And, for me to be able to, at 1:00 on a Wednesday, go outside shirtless and walk around and lay down in the grass, like, I'm going to trade that over being in a stuffy boardroom under fluorescent artificial lights 10 times out of 10. So having that freedom and autonomy in what my day looks like and doing the things on a daily basis that allow me to feel really fucking good, and not pushing all those things aside for a future promise, like, oh, in 6 months I'll get this paycheck and then everything will be great. It's like, no, I'm going to do all the things on a daily basis that I love. I'm still going to get that paycheck at the end of 6 months. That's going to feel good too. But rather than like really, really cutting myself off from all the things that allow me to feel good in order to arrive at a certain place, I'm not so much interested in that anymore. I'd rather get my workouts in, get good sleep, get sunlight, and just get 1% better every day. And that will have outsized returns in the long run.
I love it. And it sounds like you have some pretty clear priorities, because you need to have clear priorities to understand like what you're going to do at that time. Because I'll tell you, I can get caught into a trap. And I was first upset with myself Tuesday night, and then Wednesday night I was proud of myself. Tuesday night I worked a good 10-hour day, locked in, eating meals at the laptop type of day.
Mm-hmm.
And then ate dinner, and I had a bunch more work, and I cranked it out. Didn't really get time with my girlfriend, which I was trying to, because I was coming to VCon. Didn't really get time with her family, and was like, instead of 8.5 hours sleep, that's what I strive for. I'm gonna go for like, 7, 6:45, really, by the time I'm sleeping. And that's, sometimes you got to do it, right? Whatever. But what I did the next night was, we finished up dinner and I looked. I'm one of those guys that I clear my inbox, even if I just forward myself an email and say, hey, like, do this Thursday. For an organizational standpoint, clear my inbox every night. Dude, I had like 29 emails, which for someone that keeps it, like, I'm talking clean zero, I was like, oh, there's so much. But I looked through them all, and none of them were urgent to tomorrow morning. So I said, fuck it, like, let's go. We took a walk. Got some sunlight, saw the lake, like, and it was hard. And I just reflected about how many times I don't do that. And I have not been good with that, but maybe it was meeting you and hearing about your 80-20, but something that's been like a little voice I've heard in the back of my head these last few days, that I'm going to really try to understand, like, priorities and urgencies versus just work for work's sake.
Yeah, that's key, right? Because when you can do those things properly, you're getting good sleep, you're getting outside, you're getting sunshine, you've got your feet in the ground. Your performance is going to be so much better when you go into a focused work block. So
yeah,
enjoy life, do the things that make you feel good, and then be even more effective at the things that make you money. Win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. What's like a tactic or a technique you have, or maybe nothing comes to mind, but to help you kind of live that 80-20?
Yeah. So getting early morning sunlight is step number one every single day. So first thing in the morning, like, I'm up at 6:30. I have some water. I'll stand in front of my red light for a bit. But after that first half hour, I'm outside and walking every day. That's really important, because that is going to not only wake you up properly, that early morning spike in cortisol from the sunlight actually wakes you up, but subsequently it signals for the production of melatonin around 14 hours after that initial spike of cortisol. So if you don't get that spike of light first thing in the morning and the following spike of cortisol, not only are you not getting the cortisol to wake you up, but you're also not getting the melatonin at night to go to sleep. So that's the number one thing, in my opinion, from regulating your energy levels, your neurotransmitter levels, your mental health, your energy. Getting early morning sunlight is priority number one every day. And then after that, I try to every few hours, if I'm inside, I'll go outside shirtless and just get some sunshine. I'll eat my meals in the sun. I'll get my feet in the grass. Having those breaks in throughout my day are crucial just to maintain focus. And I find that you probably experienced this too. When you have those really focused work blocks of 90 minutes or 2 hours and you keep the work in that block, you're able to come at it with an intensity that's much more effective compared to just having like a huge 8-hour work block. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you're not going to be able to maintain focus for an 8-hour window. Rather than that, focus in a 90-minute window, take a half hour, 45-minute break, and then come back to it.
Yeah. Wow. You take half hour, 45 minutes usually
yeah. Often.
And it's like, and you're taking that as just like complete off time, like just relax outside and eat a meal type thing.
Not necessarily. Like sometimes if I post to Instagram, I'll be on Instagram, like responding to DMs or engaging with people that are engaging with my content. Not that I'm not going to recommend that as like the best way to wind down, obviously. But my point is I'm not so rigid with it where it's like, oh, I can't touch my phone in this 45-minute window. Like sometimes I need to. And oftentimes if that engage, like if me doing the work for a period of time feels good, then I'm not going to necessarily cut it off or restrict it. Like there is
good too.
While there is some structure and some rigidity, there is some flow and me going with whatever that day requires from me.
I like that. Yeah, I need to learn from that. I definitely stack these big 8-10 hour days because a lot of things I like to do take a long time. Meaning like this morning I played basketball from 5 to 7:30.
Nice.
So like, if you're gonna wake up, like if you kind of like pair days together, if you're gonna wake up at 4:30, so you have to go to bed real early, play basketball for 2.5 hours, drive home, shower, eat. Now it's 8:30 again, right in the morning. So I have 12 hours to do all my stuff. So sometimes I get in the trap of like, let me just like crank out my work as fast as I can. Then I'll go, out and do whatever. But I love that, man. It really is all about just like these little daily habits that string you along. And one of them, which is kind of going back to Tim Ferriss, one of the daily habits I've been trying to do is understand in the morning what my most important decision is that I need to make for the day. Because oftentimes as a founder or CEO, like a lot of what you're doing is just kind of decision making. You remember fear setting from the 4-Hour Workweek?
Oh, yeah.
So for those that don't know, fear setting is like this practice that's laid out in Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek. And it's about how to realistically weigh the options of like what might happen and what might not happen. And he talks about it kind of in these like big 3 or 6 month plans, like if you want to start a business or take like a trip around the world. And the guy that we were living with in Canada the last few months, my friend Jason, actually mentioned to me that he used fear setting for like a really small decision. And it kind of just shocked me because I was like, oh, like I actually have it on my calendar every 6 months to do fear setting. And I realized like I look at the fear setting practice of just like a very unemotional way to make a decision. That's really what it is to me. And I told you I was trying to build out new systems, right, in my company, and I wanted to get back to this. What I did was I kind of like looked at it. It was an investment into my business. As when you're starting a business, you are very careful of your expenses, right? And I'm sure everyone does this, you try to tie your expenses directly to revenue. So, like if one goes up, if expenses go up, it's okay because the revenue is going up. If revenue goes down, don't worry because revenue expenses go down with it. These were my first two investments in things that didn't directly tie to revenue. And the decision I made was, it was like 6-month contracts with people to help me implement systems into my business. And I did some fear sitting. I thought about it. And I was like, okay, so the most likely outcome is I spend this money, and after 6 months, I have systems in place that help me, get more free time back into my day, take longer vacations, and keep the business running. All these great things, systems to scale the business, not around me, but around standard operating procedures. And that is going to change my life, right? If I could take a month vacation, or if I can, cut my hours down by 80%, those things change your life. So I looked at the bad side. The bad side is these people suck at what they do. I spend a lot of money, and it doesn't really yield anything. Right. So when you rate them, I'm like, okay, well, this one over here is maybe 9 out of 10, right? Life-changing. And it's for the foreseeable future. This one over here its badness is 3 out of 10, right? You spent a lot of money, a little bit of time, but it's not detrimental. And it's right when that 6 months is done, it's over. So it's not in perpetuity. So when you look at it like that, it's like trading a 3 out of 10 bad for a potential 9 out of 10 good. It's like anyone, even if you're not optimistic, would go, in this direction, right? And
it's you're chasing asymmetric risk, right? And that's really all good investing is, the worst case scenario is you lose you make something 20% worse, but the upside is you make it 300% better, right? So that's all good risk management is you're seeking out asymmetric risk.
I like that. Is there do you have an example or kind of like a definition of what you think of asymmetric risk?
Well, entrepreneurship is a big one, right?
Yeah.
Like if, for me, the first investment I ever made in my business was hiring a online business coach for $5,000 USD, right? And based off of that coaching package, I made $100,000 in 12 months with my own business. So the asymmetric risk there was, maybe this is a complete scam and it doesn't work and I lose $5,000, right? That's the worst case scenario there. But the upside is, maybe it works and then I have a $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 business as a result of it. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. I might need the name of that coach.
Yeah, for sure. So the first business coach I ever did a program with was Rachel Bell and her program Online Coach Accelerator, and that was to date one of the best investments I've ever made myself.
Rachel Bell, I'll check her out, man. Mm-hmm. I love how you shed light to Rachel, Alex Hormone. What's his last name?
Alex Hormozy. Yeah.
Hormozy. Yeah. It's good, man. When someone leaves an impact on your life, you gotta spread their name, spread their ideas.
100%.
Dude, something that I really wanted to get to, it just coming to me when we were sitting around that campfire talking about hypnosis, and you started talking about, we kind of started with hypnosis and we transferred the discussion to actually, I think, in my opinion, the discussion was about subconscious programming. And was like a little bit about the power of that and reprogramming through visualizations. And then you said something really interesting to me is that, so you're helping people get, look good, build muscle, lose fat, things like that. The first thing you do with them is a complete mental exercise, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to, do you mind sharing a little bit about like what you do? And then also, really the meat of it would be like why you're doing that and how people can, take that into their life.
Yeah, for sure. So what sparked that conversation between you and I was that exercise where I said, think of your phone number in your head, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that anyone listening here can do too, is think of your phone number. And if you can close your eyes, you can see your phone number there in your mind. And then after someone does that, I then ask, okay, where was that phone number before I asked you that question? And they're like, I don't know, it's somewhere in there. And then the analogy that I follow that up with is your subconscious mind is like a massive dark library, right? With tons of information, all of the experiences and the emotions that you've ever felt, that is stored in that library. But your conscious attention is like a floating flashlight in that library that can really only hold one thing at a time in its field of light, in its awareness, right? So with that understanding, what I explain to my clients is everything that you want, you already have inside you. And my job as your coach is to help you shine the light in the right places. Because when you have access to the resources of energy and motivation and discipline and confidence, that's when you're able to act in alignment with those resources. Once you have the resource, you can take the action in physical reality that coincides with the energetic resource within you, right? So what that looks like from an implementation standpoint is I help my clients get that crystal clear vision of what success in this area of your life looks like. The initial things that I always talk about with my clients are, you want to lose 10 pounds or 15 pounds. You want to put on 5 pounds of muscle. You want to look good naked. You want to look good at the beach, whatever the thing is. And I say, okay, great. That's awesome. I'll help you get there. But why is that important, right? Who are you going to be after you have that result, and how will you being that person improve your life? Because it's never about losing 10 pounds or getting a six pack or putting 100 pounds on your squat, right? What matters is you being the type of person that you can be, and you showing up with that confidence and authority in all areas of life, and really creating a life that you love to live. And the weight loss and the fitness, sure, that might be at the center of it, but what's way more impactful is how do your relationships change as a result of this? How are you more influential at work and in your career so that you can create the income streams that you want coming in? And what I love about fitness is it's that direct feedback from reality on how you're affecting reality, right? A lot of people don't yet have this belief that you actually can change the world around you. But when you see that immediate result of like, holy shit, because of the different actions that I took, I'm now 20 pounds lighter and leaner than I was 3 months ago or 4 months ago, that creates a switch for people, because now you have evidence that you have the power to change your reality. And then from there, it's like, okay, great. Well, you are now leaner and stronger than you've ever been before. What's the next area of your life that you want to transform? And using that momentum as fuel for a full life reboot rather than just, a run-of-the-mill fitness program.
I love it. And you help them dig into that feeling in the beginning and start to kind of visualize it.
Yeah, exactly. So the framing that I use is you have that alpha state within you. So I create the dichotomy of your beta state and your alpha state, right? Your beta state is you're a victim of life. Your alpha state is you're at the cause of life. And through my hypnosis technique, I get them to understand what that next level looks like, feels like, sounds like, so that they have a roadmap of what they're looking to create. What I kind of think of this as is you need to be able to put the destination in your phone before your phone will tell you how to get there. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So I help my clients understand what is the destination we're going toward. Because once you have a crystal clear of what that looks like and feels like, it's a lot easier to stay consistent and motivated to take the action required to get there.
You got to have a goal. It's one of those things like the 80-20, man, that I think everyone understands. Yeah, like I have goals, but it's like, okay, what are they? Like you should be able to recite your goals, spit them out. They should be written down on cards. If you have a team, every single person that works for you should know your goals. And I'm not there yet. That's one of the big things I'm trying to implement with these systems is like goals, and then even mini goals, milestones, right? To make sure that we're going to achieve these. But I think like the old saying I've heard several times is like, if a ship leaves with no destination, what's the chance of it, getting there? Right?
Yeah.
It's like, where are you even trying to go? And it is powerful, but I think a lot of people get caught up trying to have too many goals at once, or being scared to put that goal out there, right? Like, I want, like, if you want to make $1 million this year, putting that out there and then only making $29,000, you're going to feel like a pretty big failure. You got 2.9% of the way there. Who cares if you fail or not? If you fail, just make a list of things you learned, right?
Yeah.
But it's scary to put goals out there, and to do it humbly, right? I feel like you can get caught up in the trap of like, once you like put goals out there, you're trying to like brag about it or whatever, even if you haven't accomplished it yet. But I that was something that just stood out from, I guess it was like Monday night or Sunday night when we got together, that you were talking about how important that was. I mean, you said, you're like, that is what I think is most critical to our body transformations, is that people are committed. Because if you told me, hey, Sean, like, like, you want to pack on 20 pounds of muscle, cool, like, let's do it. But if you're like, Sean, we're going to pack on 20 pounds of muscle, but you're going to leave with a deep belief in your core that you have the confidence and you're empowered to make changes in this life. And you're going to start to see them, outside of just adding the muscle, and you're going to be able to do 10 more things outside that. To that, it's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're just like, hey, like, you can like look a little better, you can justify why, well, 10 pounds more muscle is fine too. Like, right. It's like, it starts to not be, I guess, as big of a thing.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think our life, and this is gonna be triggering for some people, because victimhood's super trendy right now. But I think that your life situation is always a reflection of what you subconsciously deserve, or what you believe you deserve, right?
Believe you deserve, yeah.
Yeah, what you believe you deserve. And that is the biggest thing. If I didn't have the belief that I could create serious transformation, for clients, I wouldn't be taking the action to start a program, right? But because I genuinely believe that, I'm doing that. And unless you believe that you can create a reality, you're not going to take the action to get there. So the belief that you can do something needs to precede the action to take it.
Yeah. How do you find that belief? And I think a lot of people, like, it's easy to say, like, I genuinely believe this, but do you, and you might not even know, it might just happen naturally. Do you do anything to try to clear up what's going on in here?
For sure. Yeah. So there are processes that I'll go through to clear up limiting beliefs. And effectively, like, clearing limiting beliefs is really a sexy term for breaking the mental models that are currently running your mind. Everything that we believe is a distortion, a generalization, or a deletion. Okay. And let me explain what I mean by that. So this is, I believe these numbers came from John Grinder, who's the father of neurolinguistic programming. Let me check. Let me confirm that. Yeah. So John Grinder was one of the founders of NLP, if you've ever heard that before.
Yep.
And something that I remember hearing from him was that in any given moment, there are about 2 million bits of data that are coming at us. So right now, like, in your reality, what can you be present to? Well, you've got the computer screen in front of you. You've got the sensation of the AirPods in your ears. You might even be able to feel your shirt on your skin. You might be able to feel your feet on the floor. You might be able to feel the temperature of the room against your skin, right? And you're hearing the audio coming through your headphones. But there are so many data inputs coming at you at one time but you can only hold about 7 bits of that data in your conscious attention, right? Like all of the things that I just mentioned, you probably weren't consciously aware of in that moment until I mentioned them, right?
Yeah.
So, but think about
One of the beauties of AirPods. I feel like they're not even in there.
Yeah, right. So think about how you have experienced your entire life in that way. Yet you think you have an understanding of what's true in reality. You're this kind of person. You're not that kind of person. You like this, you don't like that. But you've only been interacting with about 1% of the available data of any given moment. Okay. So when you come to that, when you realize that, you realize how malleable our belief systems are, because for every belief you have, I can create an example of where that belief's not true. So at the end of the day, what I'm focused on is not determining whether or not my client's beliefs are true or untrue. Rather, I'm focused on ensuring that my beliefs are helpful rather than unhelpful.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? I really understand I feel like I understand the front half, right? Saying that it doesn't matter if their beliefs are true or not, because it's more about like what's like moving forward. Like, I don't want to get into the whole thing about like what is true and what's reality, right? But it's just more about our mindset and our ability, just based on our beliefs, our ability to change reality. What do you mean
Yeah,
about
let me dig into that a bit more. So a common belief as to why someone wouldn't start a business or take a risk in life is they have evidence that they've collected in their mind that says, I'm not good enough to do that. Right?
Yeah.
And when I ask why, they give me a whole list of reasons why they're not good enough. Right? And what their brain is doing is it's conforming their reality to this belief that they have of them not being good enough. And if as their coach, I can start to ask questions that say, oh, what about, this example where you have been good enough? Or what about this other example where, that looks like good enough to me? Like, how are you forgetting to include those examples in your list of reasons why you're not good enough? What I can do is I can start to weaken the armor of that belief system. And when I can do that, and they realize that like, oh shit, this belief is just completely false, then it's my turn to say, okay, great. Well, what would be a more helpful belief for us to install in you that would move you in the right direction and help you create the results you want in life, rather than keeping you stuck and continuing to recreate the results you don't want in life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of crazy to me. So I've been reading quite a lot lately. I have no conscious reasoning for why I choose the books I do. For example, somebody else Sunday night recommended a book right before you did. I didn't really react. You're like The Big Leap. I was like, cool, bought it. I'm a third through it, right? Every book I read, every person that I've had on this podcast, it comes down to the fact that what we think appears in life. Whether it's our limiting beliefs, they appear in life. Whether it's successes, limiting belief, and it's different ways to overcome that. But right, like I've been reading, like this is what The Secret is about. I'm sure you've read that by. This is what like The Big Leap is about. I just read a book called Secrets of a Millionaire Mindset again. But have you read that?
I haven't, but I've heard
Acker.
of it. I've heard of it.
It's like a money book, but it's actually a mind book. That's why I like it. Really, Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, he has a whole chapter on repression. And, to me, that's what it's all about. And like, it's what everyone that I'm naturally connecting with, it's coming down to. It's coming down to overcoming those limiting beliefs, right? Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, and all of his like work and workshops. I just read the Mind Change. Oh man, Mind Change Method by Heather McKean. Heather lives about 15 minutes from you, and I'm super close with you. or close with her. She the book's good, but I'd actually if you feel like in making an investment, I'd actually get into her course. It is
Mm,
all about how memory is stored as matter in the brain and creates physical manifestations. And she runs a company with her husband, Kent, that is exactly like you're talking about. It's reprogramming your subconscious. Dude, I would say, I mean, I would love to connect you with them for lunch or dinner or something, but
yeah, let's do it.
if you read the book, or honestly, I would say take the course. Again, it's a little pricey. It's like $500, but dude, it's not like it is, you know, and I'm saying, I'm not even saying this from, an elevated state, but there's difference between like meditation and like doing inner work, right? Like, I think a lot of people try to find mindfulness and meditate and clear their head. I haven't been the best at that, but that's very different from, even if you're sitting with your eyes closed, focusing on your breath, and it looks like the exact same. That's different than inner work, right? Where you're the whole time you're sitting there, you're actively thinking about limiting beliefs and overcoming them and reinstalling things in your brain. Like, to me, those are very different. This course is all about like inner work, and I'm
Cool.
about 50% through it. I read the book. They're cool. You'll definitely vibe with that.
I'm gonna get that book after our call here.
Oh, that's dude. You'll love it. And I'll connect you with them for sure.
Yeah, please do.
Absolutely, man. Um, yeah, that's beautiful. So it sounds like I've also seen something else that a lot of people, myself included, use their specific medium. Mine is, right, being a business consultant. Yours is being a fitness coach, to try to help people make changes in their life, like almost coming in as like a life coach, if you will.
Yeah.
I wonder, I think that's just, I guess, like entrepreneurship, right? People are trying to like craft, the ultimate, like the job that they want for themselves. That, it just seems like that naturally starts to happen for some people, right? They spend all this time learning and testing things on themselves, and then they want to find out how they can, kind of like share that with others.
Yeah, totally. It's well, that's kind of how the playground of life works, I think. Once you have figured something out and it's working for you, that's how you make the game better for everyone, by teaching people that skill.
Hmm. So it's the evolution of life is, learn as much as you can so you can teach and share.
Yeah, and then you with our system, you get rewarded for that, right? And I think that's like it's funny. We have, especially our generation. I'm not sure, how old are you?
28. How
You're
about you?
28. Yeah, I'm 29.
Nice.
Like it's very chic to shit on capitalism, right? And I think that capitalism is the most human thing in the world. And I think that you can actually point to a lot of ways that our system is not perfect are because we don't have true open market capitalism. And ultimately, that's like, what could be more human than wanting uh to learn something, reap reward from it, and then teach other people that thing. Like, you can imagine what would have happened in the hunter gatherer uh world. We would be learning things to improve our own situation, and then when we have that value, we can maximize that skill that we've learned by teaching it to other people, right? And that's,
Yeah.
regardless of whether you're a fitness coach or a nutrition coach or a business consultant, at the end of the day, it's not about the 10 pounds or creating an extra 6 figures of revenue or whatever the result that you're focusing in with your business is. It's to improve the life of the person that you're working with. It's to make their experience as a human better, right? So the more you can draw the connection to from what you're the specific result that you're helping them achieve to the larger macro picture of how is your day-to-day experience as a human going to improve from this change, the stickier those changes become and the more impactful they end up being.
Yeah. You gave a really good example with the hunter-gatherer, right? And like, I'm dumbing the situation down, but in my head, I'm envisioning someone who finds a new tactic to get food, right?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do when you kill that food? You're gonna fucking eat it first. That you're gonna reap the rewards and you're gonna feed your family. And then, your cousin, your friend, you're gonna be like, dude, get on this train, man.
Yeah.
I worked a lot in behavioral science, and it's called social currency, right? When people learn something, the example that a lot of people use in the behavioral science world is actually avocados, right? When people learned that avocados have fat, but actually help you lose fat because it's a good kind of fat, and they also have more potassium than a banana and all this shit. People they want to share it. They're like, hey, Sam, did you know avocados are so good for you? The oils, like blah, blah. And that's social currency, and it does feed the ego a little bit, but it's not a bad thing. But it's definitely something deep rooted in our psychology that we like to do, and that's really what like I feel is like sometimes if I really really realize something, meaning first I become aware of it, I read it in a book, then I understood it, I reread it and took some notes on it, and maybe had a conversation with a friend on it. Then I tried to implement it and failed, and learned and implemented and failed. And then it became part of my life, and it's in my subconscious. Like for me, you talked about like the number one thing I do every single morning is two things: drink 32 ounces of water out of this bottle and get my body moving. And like, I not like in a way like I could write on paper, turn into a formula, but I know in my heart that is like the foundation to my happiness, any success I have. Like that is Sean Greenspan. I just want to share that with people because I know it's the key, and that doesn't mean it's the key for everyone, but so I definitely agree with that. I think people kind of want to like learn, reap the rewards, and then share it. And the beautiful thing about capitalism and like open market capitalism is, you get rewarded financially directly for the value that you deliver. I mean, that is what money is. It is, it's just a amount of value you've delivered. And over time, and of course that's not always the case. You could win the lottery or something, but over time that's generally what it's going to be. And if you could, combine that with something that you love doing, I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And that's my story too, is when I was 18, I completely transformed my confidence and relationships and social situations and athletic performance by really understanding nutrition and training. And I see so many people that are completely missing that aspect of their lives. And that's ultimately why I started State of Alpha, was to help them master that area of their lives.
And you've done it yourself too.
Yeah.
I think that helps a lot. From let's lighten the conversation up a little bit. From like a business standpoint, it does seem like content for you is killing it. I know a lot of people out there looking to start businesses in the fitness space, in a completely different space. Just from glancing at your social, I think like the sentence that comes to mind is like the proof's in the pudding, right? You're in great shape, you're getting others in great shape. Do you have any tips for anyone that's about either making the decision to start entrepreneurship, or maybe more around like a good way to market yourself?
Yeah. Oh, so many. So I think the biggest thing that comes to mind around that question is people think they need to have clarity before they take action. And in some ways that's helpful. And we talked about that with like how I help my clients get clarity before they take action. But what's also true is action breeds clarity, right? So for me, what's pretty cool is I didn't actually have my program created until I sold 10 spots for it. So for a lot of people, that would seem preposterous to them. They would think that, you need to have everything figured out before you start your business. You have to have your course made, and you have to have all the modules recorded, and you need to know exactly what it's going to look like. But for me, in a lot of ways, I was building the plane as I was flying it. So
Yeah.
What I told my very first round of clients was like, hey, look, this is the result that I'm going to create for you. And these are generally the things that we're going to focus on to get you that result. And I would paint a picture for them, and they'd say, okay, great, I'm in, boom. My very first business launch ever, I sold $15,000 worth of spots before I had created a single part of the program. I just said, this is when the program's going to start. This is what we're going to help you do. Are you in or are you out? Right? Sold my 10 spots. And then from there, I built the program. But what was awesome is like, I didn't have to worry about putting all this time into something without knowing if I was going to see a return on it. I already got the return. I already was paid for the work before I did it. And I think that mindset can be applied to a lot of different areas, especially in business. And yeah, it's transformed my own business and how I approach it.
Dude, I think if there's like one tip for someone like looking to start a business, it's that, right? And it's that a lot of people are analytical, or like, their limiting beliefs get away, it's fear set. And I'm not saying, you don't measure before you cut, but sometimes you just do it. I mean, my example, I talked with a close friend about this who's been talking about starting a business for about 2 or 3 years now. And, if you know that you can help, you know the body, you can help people build muscle, lose fat. I know, that. You also know that you're not a bad person and you're just going to take their money and fuck them over. Right. So just because you didn't have it laid out, all right, this is like you said, this is what we're going to do. This is like the thing, like the topics is how we're going to get you there. And then you learn on the fly. And, before when we were talking about that, sometimes, while you're doing that, you're also working on the job. You might have those nights that we don't have our 8 hours of sleep and our sunlight every 2 hours, but, sometimes you just grind it out and make it happen. And I think trying to bring this whole conversation full circle, the optimism in it. Like anytime I get tired at work, I'm like, dude, I have a chance to create financial freedom. And what we do is we help market fitness and wellness companies so they can increase their impact on the world. Like we do this for like over 25 companies now. So our impact is exponential, right? And it's going to last long past me and what we're doing with these clients. So I'm like, if that is not back of mind, front of mind right here, sometimes like if you're working on a Saturday morning, it's cool, and sometimes, we've been talking, or not sometimes, but earlier in this conversation, we've been talking about trying to get to that next step where it's like, hey, now how can I systemize and automate what we're doing? But there's other times where you just have to grind, and making the grind fun is really, what it's all about. I think people just focus on that negative, what if it doesn't work? What if I waste my time? It's like, what's the opportunity cost, or where would you be using that time elsewhere? Right. So I agree with you, man, that action breeds clarity, and action's a great way to learn. Great way to learn. That book by T. Harv Eker called Secrets of a Millionaire Mindset. He's like, dude, you want to start a bakery? Go get a job washing dishes in the back of a bakery. Just just get in the environment, do something, So I really love that. Sam, I have like 20 other bullets I could bring up here, because you brought up a lot about natural light, and you threw in there a little grounding, like get your feet on the ground and all that stuff. That'll be for episode number 2, or whenever I make it out to Austin.
Hell yeah. Love it.
Dude, I wanted to thank you because, again, for those that don't know, I met Sam 8 days ago, something like that. And I just action, right? I appreciate that. I was like, hey man, you want to hop on pod? You said absolutely when this week works. And I was just like, I love it. I love it. So I really appreciate you, Sam. And I wish one of the other selfish reasons I started this podcast is there's some people I meet. I met you at a conference. I'm trying to meet as many people as possible. We're all on our own agendas bouncing around. I meet people that I'm like, these people are so fucking cool. Like, I just want to like hold them down and talk to them. And like, I was like, hey, a podcast is a great way to do that. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and chatting with us, fitting us into the 20%, not the 80%.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm grateful for the invitation, and I'm pumped for you setting this up. And I think I'm going to have to steal your signature move here of coordinating a podcast right upon meeting someone. I think that's a great way to get to know them. And what a great filter for like really getting to know the people that you want to spend time with. I think that's awesome.
Oh, it is absolutely a filter of mine, because I was like, I had a call yesterday with someone, just another business call, and we started going. He's a CEO of a marketing agency, so I was like, let's set up a business. You tell me all your tricks, I tell you all my tricks. We try to help each other. He was just a cool dude, and he's like, of course. And like 15 minutes in, we both kind of like felt like we just wanted to talk forever and document it, of course, so we can go back and learn from it, and then we could share it with others. So I was like, dude, let's just stop talking and let's do a pod next week.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's such a good way to do it.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna try to, I'm sure I shouldn't say I'm gonna try to. I'm sure over the next, several months or whatever, maybe before the end of the year, I'll be down in Austin visiting Matt. So I will definitely give you a ring.
Perfect, man. I'll look forward to it, and we'll set up the podcast studio in here so we can do round 2.
Hey, I'm in. I'm in. Thanks for the time, man.
Yeah, likewise, Sean. We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
See you, buddy.